Okay, excuse me. Ready?
Thank you.
Go ahead. Call it now.
This is case number 183820, the people versus Brad Fields, jury trial in progress.
Appearances for the record.
Bruce Elsey on behalf of the people.
Here we go, Carmen, we have the people.
Timothy Rather on behalf of Mr. Fields.
Bring the jury out.
We have one, can we do one, we have a record before we bring the jury out? Very quick.
I'm sorry, you can be seated. I'm like, why are these people sitting up? You can't be seated. I'm sorry.
Really quick.
Judge, for the record, I don't think the amended information that was filed reflects the accurate time of offense, which defense counsel and I would stipulate that it should reflect September 1st through January 1st.
Is that correct
That's right.
stipulation?
Correct.
Very good. Report accepted for such. And I need one drafted by the end of the day.
We'll have it done, Judge. Thank you.
Thank you.
All rise for the jury.
Can I turn these in front?
Not today.
Please be seated. Please be seated. Let me explain what it is. Friday is a busy day. We call that motion day, okay? And that means that we have a lot of hearings outside of your presence. And these hearings have been already set. So I'm all yours. We're gonna go to 4:30. We will not be stopping for any food. We don't need to do that today. I'm just kidding. So anyway, we're gonna go straight through. Juror number 14 looking at me like, you might not need any food, okay? Very good, so let's call our next witness.
Judge, we're recalling Miranda Irwin from Michigan State Police.
Very good.
Let me call the case.
I'm sorry, ma'am.
This is case number 183820, the people versus Brad Fields,
Bruce
jury
Elsey.
trial in progress.
Bruce Elsey on behalf of the people.
Here we go, Carmen, we have the people.
Timothy Rather on behalf of Mr. Fields.
Very good. Is the witness present?
Yes.
And the court is gonna indicate for the record that there's a mutual sequestration on. Witness, you're still under oath. Please take the stand.
Your Honor, I do have three motions to make housekeeping matter before I turn it over to defense counsel for cross-examination. The people will move at this time to admit exhibits 117 and 118, that's with photographs that this witness testified.
We've discussed that and there's no objection.
And then at this point as well, the people are moving to admit exhibit 141, which is this large sealed box right here, which contains all the biological and physical evidence that is collected by Michigan State Police at the crime scene.
Which was reflected in the photographs, no objection.
Very good, court is so received.
And with that, the people have no further questions.
Cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning.
Good morning. Pull the microphone a little closer. I want you to be like with the movie. Pull it up a little bit. The microphone. Thank you, Sophie. And sit back. Just sit back.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, good. That's wonderful.
Good morning again.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Excuse me. You work for the Forensic Science Division of the State Police, Michigan State Police, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And in this case, your purpose was to, and your job was to process the scene along with a team, correct?
Yes, I was part of the crime scene response
Okay.
team.
The crime, okay, thank you. And in doing that, one of the things that you mentioned when you were testifying a couple of days ago is you
A
discussed
couple days ago.
correct,
All
on
right,
Wednesday.
got it.
We weren't here
I'm
yesterday.
sorry.
So on Wednesday,
Yes,
you discussed a light that you use, correct?
yes,
Okay, and I don't remember the acronym, but it's a light that you use, and the purpose of using that is to search for bodily fluids, correct?
yes,
Okay. Now, when you were discussing, excuse me, you were discussing using that and looking for specifically one thing you're looking for is reddish-brown places on walls, items, correct?
yes. For searching for reddish brown stains, I would just use a standard bright light. And then if I'm looking for areas of fluorescence, that's when I would use the alternate light source.
The alternate light source.
Yes,
Okay.
ALS.
Thank you. And when you see reddish-brown staining on an item, a wall, that is an indicator of the possible presence of blood, correct?
Yes, I'm searching for anything that might look consistent with blood, and we typically describe that staining as reddish-brown in color.
Okay, and that, as you stated, that is, it's a possible blood stain, correct?
A possible blood stain, yes, and then I do some presumptive testing.
So at that time, okay, at that time, when you see that, you don't know specifically that's blood or that's something else, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. When you completed processing the scene, you had collected several items, correct?
Yes.
And we saw those Wednesday, pictures of them, is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
And if you recall, and I'm sure you have a report with you, so if you need to refer to it, that's fine. You collected approximately 21 items, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And when you left that location, those items had been placed, I'm assuming, into, say, evidence bags, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And each of those evidence bags are then, what, taken back to the lab, is that correct?
Yes, so we arrived in our crime scene truck, and then any evidence that was collected on scene is then packaged into either envelopes or bags. They're sealed up at the scene, and then we brought them back to the Sterling Heights lab with us. And then once we're at the lab, I put them into storage in the biology unit.
Okay, so it gets placed in storage, it's not tested right then, correct?
No, it's not tested right then, it's placed into storage.
And just to go back to the pictures that you saw, or that you testified to on Wednesday, some of the items that you found some different over-the-counter types of items, like, say, hydrogen peroxide, correct?
Correct.
Which is often used to treat wounds. Is that correct?
Yes,
You found a lot of gauze. Is that correct?
that's correct.
And that's often used to treat wounds also, correct?
Yes,
You found some bottles, I think you described them as bottles of ointments. Is that accurate?
yes, they said topical solution or topical ointment.
Okay, but you didn't recognize exactly what, let's say, brands or what exactly they were. Is that safe to say?
That's fair, I saw the label that they were topical ointments, but I don't know specifically what they're used for.
Very well. So you're not sure what ointments there were, but ointments, topical ointments are often used for treating wounds and those types of things, correct?
Yes, the names are apparent in the photos. They can be read in most of the photos, I believe, but I did not know what they were.
Very well. And these are things that often you just find maybe in somebody's medicine cabinet, right?
That would be an item typically found in a medicine cabinet.
Okay. Some other things that we saw, there were several gloves that were taken into evidence. Is that accurate?
Yes,
And if I heard or understood your testimony correctly on Wednesday, there were sets of 2 different colors of gloves, correct?
yes. Once I had them back at the lab and was able to separate them, I found that there were a total of 4 blue gloves and 1 black glove.
Very well. So there was blue and there was black, correct?
Yes,
Okay. Were those gloves, were they all latex gloves, or were there different types of gloves, or do you know?
again, I don't test them back at the lab to see if they're latex or nitrile. That's not my discipline. From what I know, I typically use latex gloves. However, we do have plenty of latex and nitrile gloves at the lab. They looked more consistent with nitrile gloves, but again, I can't say with 100% certainty.
Very well. So nitrile and latex are 2 separate types of these gloves, correct?
Yes,
Okay, very well. But you didn't know exactly. Let me strike that. Now, also, with the 21 items that you collected, not each of those items were taken from their packaging and tested. Is that safe to say?
yes, once back at the lab, I did not open every single container and process every single item that was collected.
Very well. And when you when did you author 2 reports, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And there was also, when you were, the items you analyzed and the swabs you took, did you find blood that was apparently not of human origin?
Yes, there were a couple of items that tested positive with the presumptive test at the scene, and when I did some additional testing at the lab for human blood, they were negative for the presence of human blood.
Very well.
Would you like me to refer to the report to tell you which items?
At this time, no. I have no further questions, thank you.
Redirect.
Well, would you refer to your report and let us know which items
Sure.
have human blood on?
There was a piece of fabric from the bottom of the box spring, so the black piece of fabric typically found on the bottom of a box spring, that tested positive with the presumptive test at the scene and tested negative for the human blood test we have at the lab. So there was no indication of human blood on the bottom fabric from the box spring. I believe that is the only item that was negative for the human blood test.
Thank you. I'm nothing further, Judge.
Step down. Next witness.
People are going to call Sergeant Beth Egerer.
Let's stand up and take a stretch break.
Or just hold
You
it
know
right?
what? Yeah, you want me to hold it for
Just hold it
a
right.
few hours?
Yeah, 2 hours.
Witness, raise your right hand. You solemnly swear affirm testimony about me in this matter, the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Please be seated.
Thank you.
You may proceed, Counselor Law.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you state your name and spell your name for the record?
Sergeant Elizabeth, Elizabeth, Eger, Egerer.
And what do you do for a living?
I've been employed with the Sumter Township Police Department for 14 years.
And do you have a rank or title there?
Sergeant,
How long have you been a police officer in general?
20 years.
And did you serve at a different location prior to Sumter Township?
Yes.
And how long were you there for?
6 years.
Are you familiar with the investigation into the death of Gabrielle Barrett?
I am.
Were you involved in that investigation?
Yes.
And when did you become involved in that investigation?
January 5th, 2018.
Approximately how many days after the death of Ms. Barrett would that have been?
4.
Did you go to the scene on the 1st?
No.
Generally speaking, what was your involvement with the investigation?
I assisted Detective Sergeant Toth with the technology search warrants and medical search warrants.
Let's start with the medical search warrants, I suppose. Did you prepare search warrants for medical records?
Yes, sir, I did.
One facility or multiple facilities?
Multiple facilities.
And did you get those search warrants authorized?
I did.
And did you serve them upon those appropriate facilities?
Yes, sir.
And did you receive returns back from them?
Yes, sir.
You said you also worked with some of the technology?
Yes, sir.
All right, was that physical evidence or just digital evidence?
Digital evidence.
Did you do anything with regards to cell phones?
Yes, sir.
And what did you do with regards to cell phones?
I prepared the search warrants so that they could be forensically examined.
When you say forensically examined, what do you mean by that?
So, as a police officer, in order to look through the phone itself, you need a search warrant to look at the contents of the phone itself.
So you're talking about dumping all the data on the phone and going through it?
Correct.
Well, let me just ask this, so the judges of the facts will know. Let's talk about a phone dump. So you're saying to me that if I have a cell phone and I delete something, and I delete it, you can actually go in that phone and actually recover it?
As long as the file hasn't been overwritten, you can recover it.
Okay, so if I delete a picture, you can recover it?
Correct.
Okay, so just because it's deleted doesn't mean that it is destroyed, that you can't get that, is that correct?
That is correct, Your
Now,
Honor.
how do you do that?
So with cell phones, there's a forensic examiner that specializes in cell phones themselves. And then there's also examiners that specialize in computers as well.
Okay, very good, so they're two different things.
Yes,
But
ma'am.
the main thing is that if I'm on this like computer, or if I'm on a computer and I delete something and I throw it in the trash, there's a way that you all have to figure out what I throw away in the trash, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Hear that, judges of the facts? All right now. Go ahead.
After you secured a search warrant for these cell phones, were these the cell phones? We'll refer back to Exhibit 139. There was a box of 8 cell phones that's already been admitted. Did you secure search warrants for all those cell phones?
Yes.
Included in those cell phones, was there a cell phone known to be one by Candace Diaz?
Yes, sir.
And that would be previously admitted Exhibit 138. Did you secure a search warrant to dump that cell phone
Yes, sir.
or a forensic examination?
Yes, sir.
And after you secured that search warrant, are you trained to do the forensic examinations or the dumps of the cell phones?
No, sir.
Okay, did you take them to somebody else to have them do that?
I did.
And who did you take that to?
Lieutenant Leo Gerard with the Huron Township Police Department.
And you did that with Candace Diaz's cell phone?
Yes.
All right. And did you secure a similar search warrant for Brad Fields' phone?
Yes, sir.
And for the record, that is the previously admitted Exhibit 140. Did you get an authorization of that search warrant?
Yes.
And what did you do after you had an authorization of that search warrant?
That was also taken to Lieutenant Gerard as well.
All the other physical electronic devices, were those taken to Lieutenant Gerard for physical forensic analysis?
No, sir.
Just the 2 phones that we've already spoke about?
Correct.
All right.
The other items were taken to the state police.
Okay, thank you. Did you prepare search warrants for the cell phone carriers to those cell phones?
Yes.
And what do I mean by when I say a search warrant for the cell phone carrier?
That is the person that provides the service. So in this particular case, that would be Sprint.
And when you are sending a search warrant to Sprint, what sort of data do you typically get back?
We ask for any and all information attached to the account itself. So who owns the account, who pays for the account, the phone numbers attached to the account, what cell towers they bounced off of, phone calls that have been made, incoming and outgoing text messages. They send us the dates and timestamps of when they're coming and going.
Did you prepare a search warrant for the phone previously admitted 138 Candace Diaz's phone number to send to Sprint?
Yes, sir.
And did you get a return back from Sprint on that?
Yes, sir.
Did you also prepare one for Brad Fields' cell phone?
Yes, sir.
And did you get a return back from that?
I did.
Okay, speaking of which, do you know what the cell phone number for Brad Fields is?
Yes, sir.
Do you know that off the top of your head, or do you have to refresh
No.
your recollection?
That would be 734-787-4425.
That's the cell phone that was taken into evidence, People's Exhibit 140.
Yes, sir.
And that is the same phone number that you requested the search warrant from Sprint from?
Yes, sir.
When you receive those documents back from Sprint, are you trained in deciphering some of that cell phone, the data records?
Yes, sir.
Some of that record, or some of those records, did you take them to Michigan State Police for analysis as well?
I did.
Okay, and who did you take them to at the Michigan State Police?
An analyst that looked through the tower locations.
Are you trained in the tower location?
I do not have that forensic training.
All right, so you took the tower location data to the Michigan State Police?
Correct?
Did you also, what else did you prepare search warrants for?
The social media, such as Facebook, Snapchat, Google.
Did you prepare those for both Brad Fields and Candace Diaz?
Yes.
Was there
So
anybody
there
else?
was Facebook for Brad, and then there was Facebook, Snapchat and Instagram for Candace. There was Facebook for Gabriella, Facebook for Cindy Diaz.
Did you prepare search warrants for all of these?
Yes.
How did you go about identifying people's Facebooks?
I went onto Facebook and started looking for pictures of them by their names.
And when you send a search warrant, how do you identify to Facebook what account you're looking for?
So Facebook has an identification number or a username for each person. So once you identify the username, you can look through Facebook and find their number. And then that number is their account number or identification through Facebook.
Did you have any success identifying a Facebook for a Candace Diaz?
Yes, sir.
Did you provide or prepare a search warrant for those Facebook records?
Yes, sir.
What's the first thing when you do for Facebook when you're about to try to get records from them?
The very first thing I do is send a preservation letter to let them know that I'm preparing a search warrant. This way, they can start to gather the information, so as soon as I serve them with the search warrant, they have the information ready for us.
What's the purpose of the preservation letter?
To make sure that no evidence is destroyed during the time that I'm preparing a search warrant.
So up until, to your understanding, up until that preservation letter is, once that preservation letter is sent, the records that are there are preserved until the search warrant is permitted?
That is correct.
And you don't have any knowledge what could happen to the records prior to that preservation being sent?
Absolutely.
All right. Did you prepare and get an authorized search warrant as it relates to Candace Diaz's Facebook?
Yes, sir.
Did you serve that upon Facebook?
I did.
And did you receive a return back from Facebook?
Yes, sir.
Did that return come with a certification?
Yes, sir.
At this point, Your Honor, the people are going to move into evidence exhibits 111, which is the certification return for Candace Diaz's Facebook, and 112, which is Candace Diaz's Facebook records in their entirety, 10,777 pages of them.
Any objection?
No objection.
Pharmacy.
Did you identify a Facebook for Brad Fields?
I identified two.
You identified two of them.
Correct.
Did you send out search warrants on both of those?
Yes, sir.
Did you send preservation letters for both of those?
Yes, sir.
Did you get returns from both of those?
Yes, sir.
Did you learn that any difference between the two accounts?
Yes, sir.
What was the difference that you learned?
Well, the first account that we did, the user number ended in 881. And that particular account was opened in 2015. And it didn't have a whole lot of information in it. It also didn't line up with the text messages through Facebook with Candace Fields. Well, Candace Diaz. Her name on Facebook is Candace Fields.
What about, do you remember the username for the other account that you got?
The other account is also Brad Fields, but the last 3 digits on his account are 207.
Did you, well, at this point, did you send a search warrant to Facebook for those records, the 206 records?
Correct.
All right. And did you receive a return back?
Yes, sir.
And was that, with that return, did a certification of the authenticity of those records come back as well?
Yes, sir.
At this point, the people will move into evidence exhibits 115, which are the certification for the Facebook records of Brad Fields ending in 206.
Any objection?
No objection.
And then 116, which are the Facebook records in totality for Brad Fields' account ending in 206, totaling in 5,097 pages.
No objection.
Thank you, Your Honor. Did you, we'll stay on the topic of Facebook, I suppose, at this point. Did you locate a Facebook for Cynthia Diaz?
Yes, sir, I did.
All right. And did you go through the same procedures and steps that you talked about doing with Candace and Brad Fields?
Yes, sir.
All right. And did you get a search warrant authorizing the search and seizure of those documents?
I did.
Did you serve that up on Facebook?
Yes, sir.
And did you get a return?
Yes, sir.
And with that return was a certification present as well?
Yes.
I move for exhibits 113 and 114, which again are the certification of Cynthia Diaz's Facebook records.
Any objection?
No.
Thank you. And did you, you said you also found an account for Gabrielle Barrett?
Yes, sir.
Did you send out a search warrant for those Facebook records?
I did.
And did you receive a return on those?
Yes, sir.
And I suppose now's a good time to get the projector warmed up. You mentioned that there was also Snapchat and Instagram records for Candace Diaz.
That is correct.
Did you prepare a search warrant for both of those?
I did.
And did you get a return from those documents?
I did.
All right. And as it relates to Snapchat, did you review those documents in their totality?
Yes.
And did you receive any information that was served investigatory purposes on this case?
No.
And what about Snapchat? Did you review all of those records in their entirety as well?
I did.
And did you receive any information from those Snapchat records that would have been useful for the investigation?
No, sir.
All right. I suppose we actually have to turn it on. Are you familiar with the person, Gabrielle Barrett?
Yes, sir.
Prior to you being involved in the investigation of her death, had you ever had contact with her?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember the specific day, that one day that you met her?
October 27th, 2017.
What was going on that day?
They had a trunk or treat at the mobile home community.
Nadine, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Rossonville Woods Mobile Home Community had a trunk or treat event inside the mobile home community for all the kids to come and play and have a good time, and I was out there representing the police department that night.
Who's in this photo?
This is Gabrielle Barrett.
Move for the admission of People's Exhibit 1.
Any objection?
No objection.
Okay, can I see the times? Give me a 5-minute recess, all rise.
All rise for the jury.
that's your. I was. Okay, thanks. Remind me myself.
We're waiting on the jury.
All rise for the jury.
You may be seated. You may be seated, counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor. At this point, I'll move for the admission of People's Exhibit 127,
Any objection?
No objection.
Okay, very good.
published to the jury. Identify in this photo, who is that?
Gabrielle Barrett.
Thank you. All right, I want to move on to some of the Facebook records in particular. I'm going to show you what's been previously marked as People's Exhibit 143. Can you
Yes, sir.
glance through that really quick? You recognize that document?
I do.
About 15 pages in length. Does that seem accurate?
Yes, sir.
And what is that document, People's Exhibit 143, that I handed you?
That is part of Brad's Facebook account. The front page is one of his posts, which is a picture of himself.
At this point, I'll move for admission. And did that come off of the Brad Fields account 206 that you spoke about?
Yes, sir.
Speaking of which, those have already been admitted. Did you review the first, you mentioned that Facebook sends you some data about verification of the records as to who they are. Did you review that data?
I did.
All right. Is that contained on the first page of the records that have been admitted as People's Exhibit 116?
Yes,
All right. And part of that data is the registered email address?
correct.
All right. Does it also contain a phone number?
Down at the bottom.
And what does it say as it related to the phone number?
Well, it says that the cell phone was verified on 11/27 of 2015.
Okay, and that cell phone number there, what's that cell phone? Can you read that for the record?
71734-787-4425.
Okay, and did you recognize that cell phone number from somewhere?
I did.
And where did you recognize that cell phone number from?
That was the number given to us by Brad Fields.
And that's as it relates to People's Exhibit 140, the cell phone that you ran search warrants to forensically analyze and send to Sprint?
Correct.
All right. Move for the admissions of People's Exhibit 143. That's the shortened, redacted versions of Facebook records for Brad Field.
No objection.
Courtesy.
Do you have a copy of those with you?
I do.
Okay.
Okay.
suppose let's first start by asking a few questions about the Facebook records. When you get the Facebook records, how much information is contained in those Facebook records?
There's a lot of information contained from the IP address, which is the IP address is assigned by the provider. And that's the number given for you to actually access the internet to go onto Facebook. So we have pages of IP addresses. You have pages of the data that you asked for. In this particular situation, I asked for the data on this account from October 1st, 2017 to January 1st, 2018. So it contains all of their posts. It also contains the messaging back and forth between friends. So that comes under Facebook Messenger, and that's included from Facebook on the search warrants that I obtained.
Did you review all of those records as it relates to that 206 Brad Fields account?
I did review the account.
Are you familiar with how many pages that document was?
It was well over 5,000.
Let us move into the people that admitted 143. I'm going to put it up on the prompter to publish with the jury. We're looking at page number 1162 here. What are we looking at a photo of?
That's a picture of Brad Fields.
Is this a photo that he posted?
Correct.
All right. It looks to be what would be called a selfie. Would you agree with that?
Yes, sir.
And we'll move to page 1091, which is the next page. Now, there's a few things I want to make sure we do here. Now, and my pointer, all right. Now, next to summarily, what is this a page of? What are we looking at here?
This is a page from the Messenger portion of Facebook, and it shows you who's talking. So in this particular situation, you've got Hunter Hackney talking to Brad Fields in the date of 10/2/2017.
Okay. And I see a number in parentheticals next to where it says author Brad Fields. What's that number?
That's the actual user ID or account number, as most people look at it.
All right. And that number for Brad Fields ends in what, 3 digits?
206.
And that's the identification that you've had for Brad Fields' Facebook account?
That is correct.
All right. I noticed that it also has a sent box here, and it lists a date and a time and then 3 letters after that. Are you familiar what UTC means?
Yeah, it's established in Greenwich time so that...
And what?
Greenwich time?
Was Greenwich?
So universal time coordinates. What happens in Greenwich, England, time is at 0. So if it's midnight there, depending on whether it's daylight savings time or not here,
So it's based on a time set in England?
correct.
Okay, very good, go ahead.
Are you familiar with the difference between UTC time and our time zone, Eastern Standard Time?
Yes.
And what is the normal difference between UTC time and EST, Eastern Standard Time?
It's going to be between 4 and 5 hours, depending on if we're during daylight savings time or not during daylight savings time.
All right, for these records, did you, you said that it was between October 1st of 2017 and January 1st of 2018?
Correct.
Did you assess when daylight savings time would have been?
Daylight savings time in 2017 ended on November 5th.
All right, and that would have been in 2017?
Correct.
So on November 5th, 2017, the records before that, the time would be different than the records after that?
Yes, by an hour, yeah.
So on the records up until November, daylight savings time, what do we have to do to this UTC number to get an accurate Eastern time zone timestamp?
Subtract 4 hours.
4 hours beforehand. What about afterwards?
After daylight savings time, it's 5 hours.
5 hours. And what was that date again, just so that the record's clear?
November 5th, 2017.
All right, so let's do an exercise on the board, I suppose. We'll look at this. very bottom message here, it says 10:37:35. What does the 10 represent?
That would be the hours.
Okay, and is that in normal through 12, or is it, I suppose, is it standard time, or is it a military time?
That is in military time. As you go up, you see 16:45, which would be 4:45 in the afternoon, but you subtract 5 hours.
All right, so we're here in October, and we got a 10:37:35 UTC. What time would that be Eastern Standard Time?
6:37 a.m.
That would be in the morning.
Yes, sir.
All right. All right. We'll go through that. Okay. So at this point, we are messaging on October 2nd. Up here in the very top, we have a message sent by Brad Fields, correct?
Yes, sir.
What's the time for that message?
That would be 12:57 and 51 seconds in the afternoon, just past noon.
Just past noon. All right. And what's that message that Brad Fields sends there?
It says, okay, who you thinking? And bro, you got Wi-Fi, Walmart has cameras, and you can, what?
Can all the jurors see this? Okay, you're,
Yes.
okay, I just wanna make sure everybody can see, because is there some way you can make it
I
bigger?
can make it larger, Judge. And if I suppose if the court, if there's any point that a juror needs to see it larger, if they would raise
Just
their
a
hand,
little
I
bit
can make
larger.
them bigger.
Okay, some of our eyes are a little bit older than yours.
Is that good
Bring it
enough?
up a little bit more.
A little more? We
Yeah.
can do that.
Bring it up. Right, exactly.
There we go.
Okay, is that better, jurors?
Yes,
Judges of the back?
yes.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Thank you. All right. I suppose finish reading that.
I'm sorry for interrupting.
Okay.
Thank you, Judge.
Watch from your phone, JS. I just got them all around MH House.
All right. Now, once in a while, we're going to see abbreviations or acronyms in the messages. Have you taken the time to either gain personal knowledge as to what those abbreviations or acronyms mean, and/or look them up to see what they meant?
Yes.
All right. So, for instance, the JS. Do you know what that means?
Just saying.
All right.
How'd you find that out?
You can look at the Urban Dictionary, or you can just Google it.
Okay, because I never even heard of that. I thought that was somebody's initials. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're gonna learn a lot in here, okay, judges of the facts?
All right.
So that's what JS means?
Just saying.
Okay.
All right. And then one other thing I suppose I wanted to ask you. These Facebook records, are they in chronological order from lowest number to highest number in the records?
So when Facebook sends you a return, and you're looking through a situation like this, if you were to look at that screen up there, you'd see that the time at the bottom is low, and as it goes up the page, it gets higher. And then as we go through the pages, you'll see that we're starting on page number 1091, and we're gonna end on page 258, so that we can have it in chronological order. They send it to us backwards.
All right, so we got to read backwards to read it in normal chronological time.
And from the bottom of the page up.
All right. Let's take a look at 10. I have to zoom out on this one. 10:33. What are we looking at here?
That's a picture from a camera of Brad in
And-
his bedroom.
And I'll move to 10:32, which is and we're going to see this sort of thing right here quite often. See if I can get to a pointer here. Let's zoom in on this. What is,
So when you look at this page, it says author Brad Fields. That's the person sending it. It gives you the sent time, the IP address, and then what's attached. So in this particular situation, it says type image/JPEG, which is commonly known for pictures. And when you see this, it's the picture on the previous page.
all right, so this right here is kind of like the message that would be attached with the photo.
Correct.
All right, that contains the data of when the photo was sent?
Yes, sir.
All right. And in there's parentheticals, you'll see the parentheticals up here. I think I can put my pen underneath it as a shadow to highlight it right here.
Yes.
That gives a long number right here. Does this number have any relevance to you?
That number is what we use when Facebook sends us a return. They send us in two different forms. They send us a PDF so that you can look at it on paper, and then they also send us a compressed file. And in the compressed file is where you're gonna find your photographs and your videos. So when you're looking at photographs, not only is it in the PDF form where it shows you like a book how things occurred, but it gives you that number in the parentheticals so that when you're looking in the compressed form, you can pick out that particular picture if you want to look at it further, or watch that particular video so that you don't have to scroll through 5,000 pages.
All right. Is that, we'll probably see some videos. Is that true for videos as well?
That is true for videos as well.
All right. And then when we refer to them, do we use for our shorthand purposes these last 3 digits to identify those?
Correct.
All right. And right above it is a statement. I suppose we're going to have to move, since we have to look at the bottom, to 1031 page. Right here at the very bottom, I'm going to highlight it. What do we have here? Who's the author of this statement?
The author is Brad Fields,
And it was sent on what date?
10/23/17.
All right, we'll have to go back to the previous page, like you were saying. And that's for the attachment for this statement right here that's highlighted as well, correct?
Yes, sir.
At the very top of 1032, and it says body.
Right.
That statement is the one attached to that previous thing that Brad Fields had sent.
Correct.
And what does that statement say?
The body says Walmart on Beeville or Belleville on clearance. RN cameras for 25 runs to your Wi-Fi and phone, just saying 25 per camera, not bad, IMO.
All right, we got a couple more acronyms on here. I'm going to ask you about them. RN, you familiar with what that means?
It has several different meanings, but cameras on clearance, I think it's just a spelling error.
IMO?
That one I'm not sure on.
I think Defense Counsel and I will stipulate that IMO means in my opinion.
That's
Okay.
correct, so stipulated.
Thank you.
All right. We'll go back down to 1032 here. And he had sent that previous message about the cameras being on sale at Walmart. Did he get a response back?
He did.
And who was that from? First name is just fine.
Hunter,
And what does he say?
I need to get like 2 of them for 50. I'm not telling no one. I just got cameras when I get them.
And does Brad Fields respond?
Yes.
And what does he say in response?
They're not bad, good.
And I suppose at this point, just so the jury is aware that there is going to be several markings like this on a lot of these pages where things have been blacked out or redacted. And I think defense counsel would stipulate that we've gone through these records and identified these conversations as not being relevant for today's purposes, so they've been redacted out from view. Is that appropriate?
That's correct, and so stipulated.
Just so the jury's aware as to what's going
Yeah,
on.
good.
Let's move on to record page 915. All right. Let's move this up a little bit higher there. All right, and is this another set of messages between Brad Fields and somebody else?
Yes.
All right, and who's this between? First name is fine.
David,
And what date is this on?
12/1/2017.
And approximately what time at that point?
So we're out of daylight savings time, and it would be a 5-hour difference.
All right, so that would make it 17:20,
Correct.
and would that be about 5 in the afternoon?
That would be 5:10 in the afternoon.
Dinner time.
Dinner time.
All right. And so what does David send to Brad?
Yo, my dude, you home?
And he responds?
Well, he responds 2 lines up, yeah.
Okay. And what does he say after that?
Dealing with brat kids.
All right. Let's move on to the next page. Page number 764. And is this also a portion of messages?
Yes.
All right. And who's he exchanging messages with at this point?
Brittany Marie.
All right. And what does Brittany say? Well, I suppose, what date is this?
12/24/2017 at, 5 hours before would be 15:49 or 3:49 in the afternoon.
All right. And what does, it said 12/24, that's Christmas Eve. What does she say here?
Let her bring the kids here.
And does she say something else?
I'm getting fed up with this shit with Gabby.
All right. And does Fields respond?
He says she can.
Forgot we got to scroll the other way. All right. And does Brittany say anything in back response to that?
No, she can't. It's too cold. Just because Gabby isn't your kid doesn't mean you can treat her.
What's typed there?
It's GOW, but how, gal,
Objection, just
how.
ask that she read.
Just read
Well,
it, we don't
yeah.
read all that.
Just as they're exactly on the records is fine.
Gal, ever the fuck you want.
All right. And does Fields respond?
Yes.
And what does he say?
You shit you don't deal with the BS.
And does she say anything else?
Brittany responds, you choose to, so don't complain.
And his response?
I'm not complaining about shit.
We're gonna move on to the next page here, which is 315. Let me make sure that's good to view. All right. And is this another portion of messaging?
Correct.
And who's this one? Or what date is this on?
11/3/2017.
All right. And is he messaging with another person? First name is fine.
Brandon,
All right. And what does Brandon say to him?
WYD, or what you doing?
All right. And does Fields respond?
Yes.
What's he say?
Cleaning, watching Gabby, Will, Candace, and Zoe with her mom.
All right. And we'll move to the bottom of 314 where it's continued. And does he get a response back from Brandon?
Yes.
And what does Brandon, let me move this up so the jurors can see it here. What does he say?
TF.
All right, and TF, were you able to ascertain what that means?
It's short for what the fuck.
And does Fields respond?
He responds with a question mark, and then Brandon asks why, and Brad asks what part, and Brandon asks why didn't she go with, and Brad says bad, she not seeing GMA in be worse, nope.
Are you able to ascertain what GMA is short for?
Grandma.
Thank you. Page 312, middle of the page. Pull that up to the top there. What day is these messages sent on?
11/17/2017.
And who's he communicating with? I'm sorry, who
Brandon.
is defendant Fields communicating with?
Brandon.
All right, and what does Brandon say?
What the fuck?
And Fields response?
MF. I've been stuck with 2 kids and no car. Shit not easy. Just saying.
All right, let's move to 311. All right, is this another conversation that's taking place?
It is.
Defendant Fields is speaking with who?
Brandon.
All right, and what's Brandon say?
On 11/18, he says WYD, or what you doing,
And what's Fields respond?
about give Gabby bath.
And
Brandon says why, and can't she do it herself?
then we'll move to the bottom of page 310 for the continuation.
And Brandon says, what you nanny Brad now? And Brad responds, apparently. And Brandon responds, shit, if so, I'll drop mine off, TM then. And Brad says, pulling my fucking hair out, Brad.
And I suppose, just for the record, what is TM short for?
Well, there's a couple of them, but tomorrow or,
Tomorrow, thank you.
yeah.
All right, on page 306, it looks like defendant Fields and Brandon are speaking again. What does Brandon say to him?
I need my buddies text me your number real quick.
And what date was this sent on?
12/5/2017.
The phone number that Fields responds with?
Same number is listed on the Facebook, 734-787-4425.
So that's the only number we have associated with Brad Fields this entire time?
Yes, sir.
Oh. Let's move to page 258. This is another set of messaging, it looks like.
Yes.
All right, and who is this between? First name is fine.
Matthew
And-
and Brad.
What, and when you say Brad, you mean defendant Fields?
I'm sorry, yes, defendant Fields.
All right, and what date is this sent at?
10/26.
All right, and what does Matt say?
WIDD, what you doing?
And,
Brad responds, cooking lunch and dealing with 2 kids. I'm going insane, LOL.
all right. All right, were you able to review Candace Diaz's Facebook records?
Yes, sir.
How many pages were in totality Candace Diaz's Facebook?
10,777.
Did you review all of those pages?
I reviewed a good portion of them. I did not memorize them.
All right. And were you able to, I'm going to hand you, I suppose, a document. I'll just approach people's proposed exhibit 142. I'm going to hand you this document. Are you familiar with this document?
Yes, sir.
And what is this document?
This is a portion of Candace Fields and a conversation between her and defendant Fields.
All right. So this is a conversation between an account Candace Fields and an account Brad Fields.
Correct.
All right. And that account Brad Fields, does it have that same 206 ending number?
It does.
All right. And that's the same account that we were just talking about?
That is correct.
All right. And Candace Diaz, I suppose we haven't talked about her Facebook records. Did her Facebook records return come with that same first page of verification data?
They did.
All right, let's pull that up. People's previously admitted exhibit, People's 112, my apologies. And that also contains some email addresses.
Yes.
And what's the email address here for Candace?
Candace loves Gabrielle at yahoo.com.
All right, does it also contain Facebook or the phone verification?
It has several.
All right, and are you familiar with any of these phone numbers?
So the top line, the 313-766-8560, that's the number that we have for Candace.
Okay, is that the number attached to, my apologies, I have to find my other sheet. People's previously admitted exhibit 138, the cell phone recovered for Candace Diaz that you prepared a search warrant to forensically analyze and to get the Sprint data from?
Yes, sir.
That's the same phone number, the same phone?
Yes, sir.
All right. And I suppose just the other messages on the Brad Fields account were jumping about with different people that were exchanged. This exhibit that we're going through, 142, is only contains messages between Candace Diaz and Brad Fields.
That is correct.
All right. What's the date here on 9/82?
This is 10/21/2017.
All right. And what does Candace say to Brian?
Bopper said we can head there around 7 or 8, but thought you wanted to spend time with Brianna.
All right. And what does Brad respond?
RN, I hate kids. TF, you mean?
And RN means,
Right now.
and TF, we already covered that?
Short for what the fuck.
All right. And Candace responds,
Wow.
And do you know who Bopper is, to your knowledge?
It's one of his aunts, but I don't know which one.
Okay, so that's a family member of Brad Fields.
Yes.
All right. Let's move on to 980. All right, what day are we on here?
1024.
And are we at 10:24 and 00 hours? Does that mean we're still on 10:24?
No, we're actually on 1023 at 8:02 in the evening.
All right, late in the evening. And let's start at the bottom here. Candace says,
NVM, which is never mind, remembered. And Brad responds, was dealing with her, my bad. And Candace responds, you fine? And continues and says, what'd she do? And Brad says, anyway, she showered, teeth brushed, and hair brushed. Candace responds, okay, good. Everything done before 9, she can play till 9 with her toys. And Brad says, she wanted lights off and lay down. Brad continues, she told me, shut it off, I was going to leave it on, told me good night, I guess she tired, I don't know, told her 9:30 TV off.
all right, and I've noticed it said IG there, and you just filled that in with I guess. Is that something that you learned, what IG means?
Yes, sir.
And IDK, you also filled in with I don't know. Is that accurate as well?
Yes, sir.
All right.
And Candace responds, okay, cool. And Brad responds, what you doing? And Candace responds, waiting.
All right. Now, I want to ask you, you've reviewed all these records, and this might be a good point to ask this. In totality, when Brad Fields and Candace Diaz are talking on Facebook, are you able to, while you're at some point, where the location of those individuals are?
There are pictures sent from Candace Diaz to Brad when she's sitting in the drive-thru at fast food restaurants.
I guess I'll just ask it this way. When they're messaging back and forth, does it appear that one of them's at a different location than the other?
Yes.
All right, let's move on to 972. And does Brad send a message? What's the date there?
This is on 10/25/17.
And what does Brad say?
Brad says, okay, well, I asked her, she's gonna pee. She said, I did in my pants a little. I didn't check her and made little hand mark to, I don't know.
Let's move to page 957.
This is on 10/30/2017. And Brad says, she said, I don't like you, Brad. I pee my pants. I swear she did. She on floor. You can check her shit uncalled for.
That was on October 30th, the day before Halloween.
That's correct.
Let's move to People's, or page, not People's, 950. And what day is this conversation taking place on?
10/31,
Halloween?
Halloween.
All right, and what does Fields say there at the bottom?
Demanding again.
All right, and he continues.
It continues, saying want a cold bath and out of corner, so should I give her a cold bath?
And
And Candace responds, I don't know, it's cold out, on you, I guess.
does the conversation continue?
It does continue. Brad says, gonna make clear, gonna be cold. She just finding random be out corner, I think. Brad says, okay. Candace says, probably, prob. And then Brad says, she pissed in her pants. That's why.
And I notice, I suppose I'll ask Your Honor, I'm fairly tall in stature, and I am standing right in the juror's way, so I want to have the court know if I'm in the way or anything, please raise your hand and let me know to move out of the way. I'm going to try to move the messages up to the top of the screen, so I'm not blocking. All right, let's move on to the next page, which is 949. All right, and what day is this message on?
We're still on Halloween, 10/31.
All right, and this 949 contains messages after in time than 950, is that right?
Correct.
All right. And what does Bradfield say?
Why? And then he continues, I can't believe she pissed again, what the fuck? And Candace responds, she's getting it from me when I get home, smack her ass. Brad says, she just threw water at me and everywhere too. And continues, I can't leave there if you want.
What'd she say?
I'm coming.
And his response?
We're gonna have no bathroom with water fucking shit up lately.
All right, let's move on to page 921. And what day are these messages sent on?
November 8th.
All right, and this is something we've already talked about here. This bottom that's on the screen here, what is this?
This is a picture that had been sent.
He'd sent a photo there, and above that, what's this?
That would be a video that had been sent.
All right, and how do you know it was a video that had been sent?
And the attachment's first word says video, and then in the type it says video/MP4.
All right, at this point, are you able to ascertain what the last three numbers are in the parentheticals?
207.
And those are the numbers we talked about earlier that identified and correlated to the actual videos that came in that other form of the return?
That is correct.
So you were able to actually obtain, or were you able to actually obtain that video 207 to view that video?
Yes.
All right. At this point, people are moving into evidence Facebook video 207, which is exhibit 99.
No objection.
People are going to publish this video at this point.
Make it be.
Yep, I'm going to turn the volume on as well, Your Honor. The video was 7 minutes and 36 seconds in length. I suppose now is as good of a time to ask you any question. Did you do any investigation as it relates to the...
Is that a correct stipulation, counsel?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Judge. Did you do any investigation into the nanny cam that was located on the dresser in Gabrielle's room?
Yes.
Okay, and what, did you investigate I suppose the functions of that camera were?
So, typically nanny cams are used so that parents can keep an eye on their kids. In this particular situation, the video was sent between Brad to Candace. The other thing that was interesting during our investigation is the nanny cam is made by a company called Tend, T-E-N-D, and it'll stay on their website for only 24 hours. So by the time I was involved in this particular investigation, that particular company no longer had those videos. There was nothing to obtain from that company.
Did you learn from them whether or not you could watch whether or not the owner of that camera could watch through that camera live?
Yes.
And would they, what kind of device would they be able to use to watch live what was going on the other end of that camera?
They can watch it live through their phone.
And you stated that did you try to have anybody analyze the camera itself?
The camera itself didn't have any memory on it,
Okay, so the camera has no internal memory.
no.
Okay. So the camera's hooked up to the internet?
It is hooked up to the internet, as the defendant Field said. You can hook it up through the Wi-Fi.
And then it streams the data back to the company, and that company only holds a 24-hour window of that data,
Correct,
and then it's deleted?
yes.
Judge, can we approach briefly?
Yes.
Thank you.
Let's just.
Okay.
Okay, everybody, let's take a stretch break. Okay. All right. This is what I'm gonna do, okay? Follow along. Be seated. Witness, you can stay down.
Oh, thank you.
This is, I need to have a little discussion with my judge for the facts. Listen. Being a juror looks a lot easier than what it is, okay? And what do you mean by that? You're sitting for a long period of time, okay? Sometimes you doze off, you know, you need to move around, especially when you're dealing with real technical information, okay? So what we're gonna do is, the rest of this witness is kind of technical. So what I'm gonna do, maybe every 30 or 40 minutes, I want you to get up and move around, because I want you to listen, okay? All right, and I know that you are, I know that, but I just think that it might be better, we'll do a little bit breaks, we're gonna be a little bit more active, okay? Because it is challenging, it's very challenging, okay? So this is what we're gonna do, we're gonna break for lunch. I've been instructed by the prosecution in the presence of the defense that we're gonna be some technical all day. This is the same witness, okay? So we're gonna be doing a lot of technical. So it's no place to break, you know, so we might as well do it now. Do you understand what I'm saying? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna break, we're gonna come back promptly at 1:30, and then we're gonna go through, but I'm gonna give you a little bit more breaks this time, okay? All rise for the jury. Now when everybody's ready to go. Court's in recess to 1:30.
Thank you, Your Honor.